All right, tonight on Talking Points, we revisit a sad but pervasive truth that faces the California independence movement. And it goes, as Californians, we are so used to the U.S. government's failures that we actually celebrate only getting 20% of what the government promises as a victory. Because as Californians living in a national donor state, obviously, we're used to U.S. disappointment. Funds marked for California road repair get diverted to Kentucky, so California has to raise a gas tax to make up the difference. FEMA money that was supposed to go to fire relief in Northern California ends up somehow helping Gulf states rebuild after hurricanes. The California State House estimates it'll cost $100 million to address homelessness. And the federal government gives us $21 million in Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan. California's long overdue high-speed rail, that project moves forward in fits and starts because national funding shortfalls rise and fall with Washington political tides. And then there's the latest federal symbolic gesture towards keeping a campaign promise. Yeah, you know where we're going here. We get to celebrate a $10,000 relief for people long suffering with crippling student loan debt. As again, with the California national average student loan debt running just shy of $50,000, we get a measly 20% of what was promised by Joe Biden during his presidential campaign. To add insult to injury, the Democratic majority in Congress is quick to point out that people should be happy with whatever little relief people are going to get. Because Nancy Pelosi and many of the high-ranking Democrats in Congress think any financial relief on student loans is a political mistake during a recession that might cost them precious Democratic votes in the midterms. It's a subject they don't want to talk about. That says nothing compared to California Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives like Bakersfield's village idiot, Kevin McCarthy, who rails against the student loan relief plan, calling it astonishingly unfair. Astonishingly unfair. I got to ask, Kevin, unfair to who? Out-of-state Wall Street banks? I mean, boo fucking who? Am I supposed to give a shit about how this affects Kevin and Nancy's stock portfolios or something? But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Your California representatives and your California tax dollars at work. So again, as Californians, we are so used to U.S. government failure that we actually celebrate only getting 20% of what the government promised us as a victory. I mean, okay, stop. Right there. Don't get me wrong. That $10,000 can be a big help to many of those suffering with student loans. I'm sure it will be, if people can figure out how to jump through all the government hoops in order to qualify for that relief in the first place. But it's hard to justify that glowing and gushing response Californians are seeing from Washington's progressives on the national Sunday political talk shows. I mean, case in point. Here are some choice edited moments from an interview with U.S. House Progressive Caucus member Pramila Jayapal. Too happy.
This is just such terrific news for 43 million people across the country who are going to get some form of relief. 20 million people will have their debt entirely canceled, and another 23 million will see some sort of relief. And I have just been hearing the stories and been moved to tears by people whose dreams are now possible. All kinds of stories that are just so phenomenal. And I really think the president has done something remarkable and something that will change lives. Well, the way government works is you don't fix everything all at once. That doesn't mean we should stop progress right now for 43 million people who are going to get relief. It's fantastic. Look, Democrats are delivering. So we have an opportunity to sell that we are for working people. We are for opportunity. We are fighting for regular people to be able to thrive, not just survive.
Wow. She seems positively chipper, doesn't she? So Californians with crushing student loan debt who can meet the federal requirements can expect $10,000 in student loan relief, which Everyone on both sides of America's political aisle have made a point to assure the American public that this is a one-time deal at best. And at best, it's the best the U.S. budget can handle at this time. Of course, in other news this week, it was announced that a $57 billion 6-month aid package had been authorized to assist the Ukrainians in the war against Russia. And, of course, the USS Gerald R. Ford, that's CVN 78, our newest aircraft carrier, our biggest and most expensive aircraft carrier, by the way, built at a conservative estimate of $22 billion, but no one knows for sure because it's classified. And that doesn't include the cost of aircraft, by the way, which will become the 12th aircraft carrier to join one of America's 7 Navy fleets when she sets sail on her first deployment sometime before the end of the year. Giving the United States a 6-1 aircraft carrier battle group advantage over China and a 12-1 advantage over the Russian Confederation. But then again, who's counting? Because it's only money, right? I mean, America always finds money for war or bank bailouts or oil company subsidies, right? Does anybody even want to talk about the fact that the $22 billion spent on that state-of-the-art aircraft carrier, honoring a second-rate president, by the way, would have been enough to end homelessness? Guess not. Because again, as Californians, we are so used to U.S. government failure that we actually celebrate only getting 20% of what the government promised as a victory. And year after year, it's still vote blue no matter who for 70% of Californians. Gotta ask, are we tired yet? Einstein said it was the nature of insanity to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So what does that make Californians who refuse to embrace the idea of a free and independent California in favor of slavishly pinning all their hopes on American political parties and U.S. national elections that fail to ever really get anything done? Police brutality, voting rights, civil rights, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, homelessness, guns, the environment. Representative Pramila Jayapal actually had the nerve to comment in that video that governments don't get things done in a day. Well, hate to break it to you, but the student loan crisis has been building for 50 years here in California, ever since Governor Ronald Reagan took a hatchet to the California community college system. You can't say nobody saw this shit coming. But that seems to be the story with everything in the American political universe. Unless it's war or a tax cut, all issues must remain permanent arguments for U.S. politicians to use to get votes, so no political issue can ever really get settled. So, as Californians, again, we are so used to U.S. government failure that we will actually celebrate only getting 20% of what the government promised as a victory. Because the fact is, symbolic gestures, temporary gains, and incremental improvements are all Californians can ever expect until the day California is its own free and independent nation. This is Talking Points.